Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. So what I want to talk to y'all about today is snaring beaver. Snares are probably one of the most effective tools that we have, or snare or cable restraint, whatever the particular vernacular has to be in your state. Snares are probably one of the most effective tools that we have to use to harvest fur, and especially harvest beaver. Very versatile, very simple, very effective when you use them in the proper techniques. What I'm going to show you today is that there's more to a snare than just hanging it in a beaver slide. So stay with me. We'll be back here in just a minute. Okay, guys. So we found a pretty good location here to make a caster mound for beaver using a snare. And it's really simple. There's nothing to it. All you do is stake your snare up there on the bank. I can get up out of this mud without getting wet. I take my foot and I just slick up a spot right here. Make it look like a beaver's been going up and down. Then we fashion our support wire onto our onto our collar there, our support collar. Push that wire down there in the mud. Get your loop hung, get it adjusted right. I want my loop approximately 3 inches up off the bottom and hanging dead center in that slide that I kicked up there with my foot. Then all you do, take some mud and leaves here, grass, pile it up there on the bank, get it, you want it about, anywhere between 18 inches and 2 foot ahead of your snare. Put your lure up there. That way you've got plenty of room for that beaver to pass through your snare to reach the lure. You don't want to be right up on close on top of it with a snare because you're not gonna catch him. Guys, that's all there is to it. If you want to, you can always put in a guide stick or two if you think it's necessary. Most of the time it's not. But if it makes you feel better to do it, then by all means, that's what you need to do. Guys, that would be it. That would be the completed set on a caster mound with a snare. There's simple, fast, effective, nothing to it. We'll get set up here and I'll show you another set that I like to use when sorry, losing my train of thought here. When everything's right and it proposes itself, this is a very effective set to use also. Stay with us. Alright guys, here's the other set that I like to use a lot. Now I want that loop just a little bit lower than that. I want it about half. Half or even a little lower than that, underwater. What I've done here, you see this quite often. Again, as the opportunity presents itself, you find a tree that's out in the water. And sometimes they'll be green, they'll be alive, and the beaver will be feeding on them, and that's even so much the better. All I've done is taken a couple of fencing staples and stapled a support wire to it, and then hung that loop so that it's about half or even 2/3 underwater. Doesn't hurt a thing. Stake your snare up on the bank or tie it off to the tree, whichever's easiest for you. And that's it. Then, well, all you do is just smear a little lure on each side of that snare. And that beaver will pass around there and keep swimming back and forth and around. He'll catch the lure with his nose and then he'll lose it, and then he'll catch it again, he'll lose it, and he just keeps making passes. I want that loop, edge of that loop, just as close to that tree as I can possibly get it, because that's where the beaver's going to be swimming. And again, half, 2/3 underwater, because you've naturally got more beaver swimming under the water than you do on top. When a beaver's swimming, there isn't any more than just his nose, his ears, and his eyes sticking up. Sometimes his back, but very seldom. So you got more beaver underwater than you do on top. And guys, that's it. That's the set. Very fast, very simple, again, very effective. And again, as we're here, you can see the opportunity presents itself there, that stump right there, that tree out there in the water, this stump right here where this bridge comes across. And you could, if you can get to it, which I can't, but if you could, there's 2 or 3 more stumps or trees right out there in the water on the other side of that bridge. So, I mean, you have the potential to hang, you know, a half a dozen sets right here and kill a half dozen beaver real fast. All right, guys, one more thing about hanging snares, and that is on a slide. And what I try to do when I'm hanging snares on slides is I try to look for the break, either up on top or clear down at the bottom. You can do it halfway I mean, it's a little tougher because you've got to get the angle of that snare just right. You always want that bottom of that loop perpendicular to, or horizontal to the bank, you know, so when he comes up or down, he's coming straight into the loop. It's a little tougher to do on an angle, but it can be done. I prefer to either be up on top or clear down at the very bottom before they start up it. With that being said, guys, I know this is kind of a fast little deal, but it's just like a lot of my videos. There's not a lot of BS to them. They're just pretty straightforward and simple and to the point. No sense complicating it and making it any harder than what it already is. I'd sure like to thank each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate all of you that have subscribed. If you haven't yet, if you would please hit that button down there at the bottom, subscribe to my channel, maybe go back and look at some of my other videos from the past here this last summer. Once again, this is Dale Billingsley with another one, signing out.